Mm, mm, mm. All right. Welcome. 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 My name is OBENG DARKO. Welcome. Okay. It's another day. It's another beautiful day. And we want to talk about something critical, something fundamental, something that if you don't understand, then there will not be much that you understand. So, Akwawa, by that, Akwawa, thank you. Thank you. And so, Pacho, share so that some other people can join us. Um, Share so some other people can join us. My name is OBENG DARKO. Today, if you have not had a copy of our books, this is Unlimited Opportunities, an entrepreneur's book, Let Creative, Tough, and Independent Minds. For creative, for the tough-minded person, for those who want freedom. It's a good book. Streamline How to Teach Yourself Money. If they want to dominate you, they will tell you that money is not important. So they will teach you that once you pass the exam, you'll be great. Once you become a lawyer, a doctor, you'll be successful. They will not teach you economic freedom. And there is no freedom more than economic freedom. If you don't have economic freedom, you don't have any freedom. So, and here you don't have any freedom. So and mainly it's about the knowledge you have about money. The primary knowledge you have about money will establish how you utilize the decisions that you make with the resources that are available to you. When you're ignorant about money or the money that comes to you, you will misuse them, and so you will forever work and you will not have any freedom because you make wrong decisions and choices on money. So streamline how to teach yourself money. Every one of us can build ourselves into economic freedom, into financial independence. It does not matter where you live, it does not matter your family background, whether you're male or female, black or white. At the individual level, you can build your own financial freedom if you have the right financial information. So it's key. Streamline how to teach yourself money. And this one is perspective, how to develop the mindset to start and build your own business. If you know how to build a business, how to turn an idea into a business, you can be economically free. You can be sure that you'll be economically free. So join us, share the channel. Welcome. Today is Saturday. Every Saturday that we have some maneuver, what is it? Some allowance, we will do live. So this is one of them, and this is resilience. This is how to develop courage and strength as an entrepreneur. When you're doing business, there will be a lot of troubles. There will be a lot of challenges. There will be a lot of disappointments, pain points. And so if you can fight through, then you become successful. If you cannot fight through, then you will give up. So thank you for taking your time to join us today. Racism and economic domination system based on race. One thing I've seen is that the most important topics that Africans must know, they are the very topics that Africans think are not important. The very critical, fundamental topics that Africans must know. They're educated, they're uneducated, they're powerful, they're not so powerful, the rich, the poor. The critical things that we must know, many Africans don't show interest in them. And this is one of those topics. And yet the few who have some kind of understanding of such things are able to live, at the freedom level, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, economically. They live in freedom because then they understand how this world has been carved out, especially over the last 500 years, you know. So if you don't understand it, which I know, many of us from Ghana, Nigeria, particularly West Africans, we think that we are looking for money. So we are looking for education. And so how the world runs, we don't know. We really don't know. And we think that the kind of education that they have given us is enough for us to really understand the world. So we talk of economic policy and, you know, political something. But all this, they happen in a certain domain which has been created. You know, so if you don't understand the global white power structure, you don't understand a lot of things as an African. You know, and that's why you will see a lot of young Africans making some blatant statements. You know, and the obvious one, you will hear that our politicians are corrupt, they are wicked people. Africa has everything. The only problem is that we don't have good leadership. That's what they will tell you. This is one subject that you want to study, you want to learn, you want to understand it. Because most of us understand racism as prejudice, as, oh, this is white man, this is black man, they don't like us. That's how we understand. Many of us, that is the level we understand racism. We think that is just, oh, they don't like you because you are black, and they don't like you because, you know, something like that. And if they don't like me, I don't care. That is the kind of understanding many of us have on racism. You know, so we think that a lot of no, when you talk about racism, we are not talking about hating say white people. No, we are talking about understanding how this economic system that you see now, how the foundation of it, how it's been structured, and how you as an African, you know, have been positioned in a certain place that economically you have to fight double. You know, you have to fight more than others for you to become successful. And even as a continent, as countries, we really have to understand some of these things. Because if you happen to become a leader in Africa and you don't have a clear understanding of this, you will not do much for us. Whether you're a political leader or academic leader or religious leader or business leader, if you don't understand this, and I dare say that it's not one of those topics that people really sit down to study. And yet it's one of the most critical topics that people must know. And when you talk about racism, they just think that, oh, these are people who are just blaming the white man for every wrong thing, and they are not going to take responsibility for everything that they do wrongly. You know, and those are statements from people who have not studied these things. The moment you study this, your mind will open up and you study more and you can understand. And some of the statements that you make will even change, because it's far more deeper than just having racial prejudice. You know, so racism is an economic tool. It's a system that was created, and beneath it is that one race must have economic power, domination, wealth over the others, and mainly is between the African people who look like me and the Europeans, because much of it, the race, you know, race as you see it is a social construct, and it's racism as you see it is a creation. All through time, there have been differences in terms of how one race will see the other, but creating, funding it on wealth creation, on economic power, that was created over the last 500 years. That was created over the last 500 years. As a matter of fact, slavery and colonization were built on that. Slavery and colonization, the enslavement of the Africans, how they colonized the continent, were built on the premise that one particular race, in this case, which is the European race, felt that they had God-given power to dominate everybody and to take advantage of everybody and to rule the Africans and to teach them and to civilize them. That, based on that, all the other things that you see in 2022, 2023, a lot of the things that you've been taught in school is based on that. The way the government structure you have in Nigeria and in Ghana, they're based on that. Even the language that I'm speaking is because some people said that when you go to school, don't speak your language because yours is not developed. some other one is developed. Some people say that is even an advantage, so you have to understand what they call racism. And I'm saying that is mainly, some people define it as just somebody who does not like you based on your skin color. That is superficial. That really is not racism. If you look at when the boys are playing football and somebody is throwing banana at them, and they say that, oh, these are, what did they call them? Somebody's racist. That's not it at all. That is not it at all. Racism is really based on money, economic control, economic power. And they want to make sure that this particular race dominates everywhere. And as a matter of fact, if you don't have economic control, if you don't have economic power, then you don't have much power. So access to, that's why if you study it well, the Africans that they took to the new land, see, the changing of their names, the destruction of their history, the changing of their language, everything was such that they will work to feed the economic, the way they wanted to become powerful economically. So what, even now, the kind of education that they give us in Ghana, in Nigeria, all of them have been designed so that they will make the other race more prosperous than you. More prosperous. So it's a social construct. It is a system that is based on economic domination, and the Europeans created this. It's not the Africans who created this, the Europeans who created this. And good intentioned Europeans who are looking for solutions for the world, especially who are trying to see how Africa will develop, we should study this. And it's one of those topics that when you bring out the Africans who are being run by these structures are the ones who even fight you. Yeah, the Africans who are being run, especially the educated Africans who have not studied such subjects. Because racism is one of those subjects that you have to intentionally study it. It's not something that you just gloss over. It's like somebody who's going to be trained as an engineer or a medical officer. There are fundamentals that you must understand. If you're an African, this is one of the greatest topics that you must understand. If you don't understand this, there's not much that you understand. And so you see prominent teachers in Africa in suit and tie who will tell you that the Africans are poor because they were worshiping witchcraft and demons. That's why they are poor. And the Europeans were worshiping God Almighty. That's why they are rich. The other day I heard that. I said, yes, when you are ignorant, these are the statements that you make. Because racism is something that many Africans, especially those on the continent, have not studied. They don't study, they don't think it's important, they don't care, they even don't see a need for it, and yet they are looking for the solution. Everything that you see from the 14th century to now, everything that you see has been built on this one. And if you have an error in terms of how you understand this, you virtually will not understand anything beyond that as an African. And your freedom as an African will come from you understanding this economic power structure, which is being run by Europeans, and they created it. Their forebears created it, and they have run it for, they created it through their political structure, their cultural domination, their hegemony. They created it through their religious structures, and now it has become normalized. So when you talk about it, people really don't see how to explain it, but it is as it is. You can see it. It's everywhere. That is why when you hold Ghanaian passport, when you hold Ghanaian passport, where do they want you to travel to? How many white people hold Ghanaian passport? But when you hold American passport, British passport, German passport, French passport, you can almost go everywhere in the world. Now, look at the people who live in these countries. They will say that is because they have economic empowerment. No. Look at the people who live there. 70, 80, 90% of them are white. So when it comes to even free movement of people, you are restricted based on your skin color. And it's a structure. Because they know that the more people move, the more wealth is created. They know it. They know that the more people move, if you move and experience other things, and you are not restricted, wealth is created. And so racism is actually structured said that almost every activity will flow the wealth towards the white man. And almost every activity will make the African, or those who look like the Africans, poor or economically disadvantaged. And we are not even talking about just the individuals. It's a structure. It is a structure. So if you define racism, we are not talking of prejudice, no. We are talking of something that makes sure that white people have economic advantage over the rest of us, especially Africans. You must understand it. And it's been taught over the years. Institutions have been established over this. And so it's difficult for those who have gone through these institutions to question and to even embrace it, to say that, yes, indeed, it is how it is. You know, so it is what's responsible for slavery and colonization. And as it is now, one race, which is the European race, is in charge of the world. And every economic movement, they lead it. And it's not because they're intelligent, it's because systems and structures were set based on race, and they were put ahead. You know, so it is so difficult for some others who don't look at them, who don't look like them, to push through, especially in areas that they live. In areas that they live. You know, that's why when it comes to China trying to make inroads, you know, you see the pushbacks that they have had, because that racism is responsible for the world that you see now. So the prosperity that you see in the world now is based on race. And if you don't understand this concept, you fight it, you push, you disagree, and yet you may not have read any document on this. So I will challenge you, study this subject, racism, not as prejudice, racism as an economic tool that Europeans have used to become so much economically powerful. And at the same time, they have made sure that the Africans will be economically disadvantaged for a very long time. So all the institutions that have been established over the last, over from 14th century to now, economic powerhouse institutions, currency, technology, businesses, anything that contributes to economic empowerment have been based on racism and have been based on race. So if you're a young African and you're asking questions, I say that go and look at this. So when they are saying that ASEAN is a monkey, that is no racism. That is just something that is just a camouflage. The rare essence of racism is an institution, is a structure, is a system that empowers the white man. And the same system makes sure that the African is disadvantaged. And that's why with all your education, when even they give you passport, there are certain positions which has power, which has wealth. And just because you look like me, they will make sure that you will not have access to that. There are critical positions, global, international organizations, that if you are African, then getting there will become very difficult. They have to make sure that the dominant ones are white, because racism actually is an economic tool to dominate those who don't look like them. That is how you have to understand racism. It's not, oh, I have a friend who is a white man. No problem, have a friend who is a white man. But you and that friend, when you put business ideas together and you are looking for funds, he has 10 times opportunity to get access to that funds, which is controlled by their people, than you getting access to the same funds. If there's a critical position that they have to give you, you would have to be so much qualified. He doesn't have to push it much, because when it comes to power and wealth in the mind or in the structure of racism, this current structure that we have around the globe, it is made sure that the power, the wealth must first go to the white man. And that is what they establish. The unfortunate thing is that the Africans are there debating it, fighting it, instead of them to study it and position well. They're debating it. So when Africa goes to, let's say, these institutions that give debt, no, it's been established that you must not have access to wealth and power. You must not have access to wealth and power. So they will say that, oh, when Ghana goes there, they give them 15%. They must make the road so frustrating for you because you are not like them. It's based on skin color. It's based on race. And it's an economic tool. You have to understand that. It's an economic tool. Anything that will raise you to become powerful, giant, who have control over their own resources, that racism, which is a structure, has been established to make sure that you don't go there easily. It does not mean that it cannot be done, but you cannot be ignorant of this. Once you're ignorant of it, then you say that, oh, it's not true. And yet when you look at your results, you see, and then you say that, oh, it's because the black man is very unintelligent. The people who refuse to understand this one, racism as an economic tool, structure based on race, they are the ones trying to say that, oh, it's because our ancestors were worshiping demons. It's because the African is cursed. It's because the Africans are not intelligent. It's because the Africans are corrupt. Because the Africans are backward. Those who don't understand this system, because almost everything that you see, from religion to everywhere, look at the global religious institutions, who lead them? Because that they represent power. And anywhere that you see power, they must be there, not you. So look at academia, it is there. Look at business, top corporations is there. Look at great funding institutions. Who are the ones that must have access to them? It is the European. That is how they establish it. It's an economic tool. It's an economic conduit that they have used to dominate, particularly dark-skinned people. So if you don't study this, you will debate, you will fight, you will say all kinds of things. It's just because you're ignorant. It's just because you're ignorant. And many Africans are ignorant of this structure. So when you say racism, some Africans even compare it to tribalism. In Ghana, if you want to become president, nobody prevents you from becoming president. It can be any tribe. If you want any job, nobody will prevent you from accessing that. So nothing prevents any tribe in Ghana from accessing power and wealth. Now, when you talk of racism, in this structure, something has been set to make sure that only the European would have access to power and wealth. To have access to power and wealth. So when you talk of tribalism and you are here shouting, the same is because you are talking of racism as a prejudice, That's fine. People can be prejudiced. But when we are talking of economic empowerment, domination, access to power, great decision making, that is a whole different ballgame. And that is how you have to understand racism. Because they know that with real freedom is economic freedom. Any group of people can only be free when they have economic freedom. And that structure that has been set, which we call racism, is a system to make sure that you are prevented from having majority. You as a people are prevented from having access to this power and this wealth as a group. And so the way you've been educated, the systems that have been set in place for commerce, for movement, access to technology, access to funds. If you look like me, you have to do extra for you to have access. If you want to set a manufacturing plant and you are in America, for instance, and you are a black person, you have to do extra. If you want access to $2 billion fund, if you're white, it's different. If you're black, it's very easy. Even in education, the way you've been taught right from the primary level, the content that you've been given, that will build you up and make you fight. You will see that yours have been saved. You will fight it, you will debate it, you will challenge it. That's why you said that, oh, when I go to school in Germany, I come back, I'll be successful. You have gone there and you have come back, you are still struggling because you don't know that the route to wealth creation is beyond what they taught you in that school. So you have to understand this, study it. I chanced upon this about 20 years ago when somebody actually defined it for me. Because there were so many things that were fusing in my head. I couldn't understand why the world was like that. And beyond that definition, then I started to study it. I said that, yes, it was true. If you travel with Ghanaian passport and somebody else travels with another passport, why are they treated better than you? Why are they treated better than you? Have you asked yourself? Is it because your country is poor? And who had to even set that passport? Why was that set? Why was that brought? Why was it put in place in the first place? And who were those who spearheaded this? Who? Did they look like you or did they look like somebody else? And so for the last 100 years, 200 years, 300 years, many of the things that you see, many of the laws that you live with, many of the regulations, many of the things that we deal with now, the people who set these things, they set them because many of them believed that they, white people, Europeans, American white, all these, they deserve the best of this world. So if it has to do with prosperity, it had to come to them. If it had to be power, it had to come to them. Everybody else didn't have to have access to that power. So look at it, study it. If you're a young man, your greatness is actually linked to your understanding of this. If you're looking for food, we have people with different burdens of life. If your burden is just to feed yourself, this is not for you. If your burden is to see if the burden of your people, the prosperity of Africa, the development of Africa, the greatness of your people is of concern to you, then you cannot gross over this. You must study it. But if you're looking for visa for your family, you're looking to go to, you're looking at traveling to America to have a job and get your salary and just buy your car and your house and live your calm life, this is not for you. We have a lot of Africans who think like that. But we are looking for the liberators, those who want Africa to prosper, those who want Africa, to do well, Okay, somebody is asking this question. It says that America know that they cannot go to Russia, China, India to colonize them. So why did our people allow colonizers to come to Africa? You see, my understanding is that the Arabs had been here from the 7th century, and they came with religion and jihadism, and they had fought and broken a lot of the kingdoms. So when the Europeans came, it's not like the Africans were one people based on skin color. They were tribes and kingdoms. And it's not even up until 1900, only 10% of Africa was under their control. They wrote the history book to make you believe that they actually took everything. No, they came here just like Putin has gone to Ukraine to fight. It was technically war. Almost everyone in Europe was in Africa trying to look for wealth, and they came with weapons, powerful weapons. Many African tribes, the big ones, fought them and defeated many of them. Now, they will not tell you this one in school. So it will make it's always like the story is told as if Africans were so weak and they were just trampled over. No, it was not. But they used so many tools, so many techniques to fight the Africans. But I think the most dangerous part was when they partitioned the continent and they started to introduce some of these structures and their cultures. That's what really affected us, So it's not so much that they overcame us as they want us to believe, The institutions that they run now are the ones trying to restrict us from becoming what we have to become. But mainly, much of it was based on skin color, based on race, actually. So it's not, we fought. There are so many African kings and queens who fought to death than to giving to the white man. So the history as it's written and being taught around the world, especially, much of it were not written by well-schooled Africans who didn't go to the school of the Europeans. So I really don't like reading history from people who were taught by Europeans. History will, because they will come to the house, kill people, burn it down, and try to tell you that you didn't achieve anything. That is the kind of history that Europeans are saying, and they will never own up to anything. You're just like COVID now. In 100 years to come, they will say that Africans were dying, and so they brought them vaccine. They will cook the story like that. But the truth will always come out. And so some of the things that they tell you, if you really look at it, they don't really make sense. So they went to Africa, they didn't have any clothes, they didn't have anything, and they went to civilize them. It's not true, because many of the people they even took were people with special skills, but they will not say that. So racism is a serious thing that you have to understand, especially Africans, Ghanaians, and Nigerians, because they think that everybody loves them. Ghanaians and Africans, many of us are very much ignorant of these things. And so when you go to, for instance, when you go to America, I said, I don't understand the African Americans. There are so many opportunities here. Why they still head back to, the history, what happened? We can't change it. So why? It's because you're ignorant. If you know the pain that they have endured, you will not even say that. Somebody was saying that, then why do you even celebrate Christmas? Because that is history. Why are you not fighting the Jewish people for, celebrating or remembering the Holocaust? Nobody has a problem with that. But when the Africans want to go back to history, because until you correct what happened, or until you have proper understanding of what happened, the pain will be as fresh. The pain that happened thousands of years ago will still be as fresh as today, because you don't understand it. The wound is not going to be healed just because it's time. It has to be treated. And one of the topics that you have to understand, especially those of you who live in these countries, every day you are dealing with so much, but the data is so little, because you think if the things have not been broken down to you, you always feel burdened. So racism is something that you must know. It's an economic tool that they use, and it spreads everywhere. It's in everything that we see today. The education that's intentionally, when you went to school to study linguistics, or when you went to school to study social science, English, everything in it, 99% of it is European. Anything that has to do with intelligence, even those of us who went to school on the continent, everything that has to do with technology, intelligence, prosperity, the names in it are Europeans. Because the European must be the one who is intelligent. Power must be accorded to them. Prominence must be accorded to them. When it comes to poverty, even now, when you're watching any YouTube video, especially, and the people who are saying, even both Africans and Europeans, when they are giving examples, when it has to do with wealth and power and something that is nice, technology, advancements, they will not give any examples on Africa. But when it comes to any poverty, backwardness, challenge, diseases, the first place that they give examples to, the examples of, will be Africa, an African country, an African tribe, an African person, because they have also been conditioned that way. And so you, an African, must recondition your mind so that you can understand the structure. If you don't understand the structure, you will live for yourself. You just buy a car, buy a house, send your children to school. There will not be much greatness that you can achieve, because to go into the higher level of where you're owning plants, manufacturing plants, owning wealth, creating wealth, where you're going for power, political power, you're going for the president of that country, you must have understanding of this, or you will never be able to be, you will never be able to access such power, because for power and wealth is reserved for the European. That is how they have made it. So you study it, and that's why the African presidents can put all of them together and send them to America to go and meet one president. Put all of them together, go to Russia, go put all of them together and go to India, go put all of them together and go to China. Because they've been educated to be subservient, to accept that they are poor. That's why constantly you are being told that Africa is poor, Africans are corrupt, Africa is backward. This is Africa. It is part. Really, when you hear all those things, the structure, the system that is responsible for that is racism. So racism is not somebody throwing banana at the football pitch, It is a power structure that is responsible for one race controlling everything, which has to do with money, wealth, land, economic empowerment, and another race being looked at as poor and nothing. That is a system that was created. It's a recent phenomenon. It has not been in all through time. No. Racism was developed because the Europeans came here and they said that they were the super intelligent. That's why they made God white. The angels were made white. Every intelligent person was made white, and every evil person, even in terms of the words that they use, when they use white, what do they use it to represent? And when they use black, what do they use it to represent? So the system, the machine that is creating all this is what we call racism. The machine that is responsible for the production of all this, where one particular race is all powerful, and one particular race is still struggling, is racism. And I'm not talking of just one person paving through. No. We are talking of a structure, a machine, a domain, a pond, an environment that is producing this group of people, and that environment which is also producing this. So it really does not matter how many years that the others have lived with them in the same environment. That system will continue to make sure that this group of people will become wealthy and powerful, and this group of people will continue to struggle. And so when you turn around, you say that, but we all have equal opportunities. That is not true. That is not true at all. That is not true at all. So my name is OBENG DARKO. We are discussing racism. If you don't understand it as an African, you don't understand anything. If your preacher, your pastor does not understand this thing, he's teaching you wrong things. If your professor does not understand this structure, this system, he's teaching you wrong thing. If your political leadership don't understand this, they're teaching you wrong things. They will lead you into ditch. It is one of the best things to understand as an African. Don't grow, especially if you're young. If you're a young African, understand racism as an economic dominating tool that the Europeans have used. And they continue to use. So you see that IMF, who has been leading IMF? You see UN, you see NATO, you see G5 or G7. You see all these organizations and look at the color of those who hold those powers. That's pure description of racism. It's not somebody spitting and saying that I will not let you marry my daughter. That's not what I'm talking about. There's one shade of racism, but that's not it. I'm talking of economic empowerment. Because they know that that is real freedom. And they will prevent you from getting there because of the race they use. They say that this one is reserved for these people, and these ones must not get here. So study it. If you don't study it, you will leave. You go for all the PhD. You go for all the big jobs anywhere, and when you get there, you'll be disappointed. The oppressive system is so complex and complicated that our own people fight for them every day. Yes. Our people will fight because they don't understand it. The average Nigerian and average Ghanaian thinks that racism is my case and obobo. Yeah, you're free. Thank you for the topic. For us out here in the West, to share our experience. Yes, yeah, I'll put the network, the link there. You share your experience. I've got education concerning our people in Africa. Thank you. Yes, so study it. Much of the history that they have taught you were sieved or were structured through the eyes of racism, so it will paint the white man as an angel, as somebody who came to help the people that they have killed. So if you don't understand it, everything that you read there, you read lies. The whole thing about school is scam. They didn't even teach us our own history well. No, because you were designed to be taught to be powerless and not have access to wealth. The school that they brought, after you have gone through, you'll be powerless and you have no access to wealth. If the white man goes through the same structure, he has to have power. And you as an African, you look up to them as the people who came to save you. So when you go to church, everything that the pastor is trying to preach, the people who are interpreting the Bible to us, all that they are trying to tell us is that you will see it. Use racism as an you will see it. You will see it. You will see it. It's very easy. You will see once you understand it as a structure, that has been that has been designed, and many of the things that have been feeding this structure, the school, the content of the school, the religion, the content of the religion, the political structure, the media. If you look at these things, you can always see. So that when you are trying to understand the complexities of the Africans and Africa, you cannot take this one out. Why is it that your CD can drop? Boom. Boom. Your CD is just drop in a minute. And it creates a lot of people's capitals. People will just lose their capital. Have you asked yourself that? You that they say you have gold, oil, diamond, somebody has created an economic structure that favors him. And you are here insulting your politicians. If you're a young man, study it so that when you become great, when you become a leader, you can fight to change this. Because if these things are not attacked, there's no way that your country will do well. There's no way your country is going to be a manufacturing hub. No. There's no way that China had to fight. And they're still going through a lot. India had to fight. And they're still going through a lot. Africa must understand it and fight. We just thinking that something will just come from heaven and change our situation. If our people don't understand this structure, every economic structure that you see that were initiated by Europeans, in it puts the African down. In it, they have made sure that the Africans will not prosper. Everything you see there. So it's not about, oh, you hate white. No, it's not about hate here. We are talking of a structure. It goes beyond individuals. We are talking of a structure, a very complex structure that continues to produce a particular people to be poor and powerless. And the same structure is continuing to produce a people who become powerful. So that young white boy that they have given birth today to, tomorrow is a very powerful boy. And that young African man that they have given birth to today will be poor until we change and until we understand the structure. Until we understand the structure. If you don't understand the structure, we just so we have a lot of questions to ask. You do have a lot of questions to ask, and you need to study it. So racism is not just skin something that somebody does not like you. No, it is a whole structure that is producing a particular group of people to become powerful, wealthy, and it's a whole structure that is making sure that these people will struggle for a very long time. Some of our youth need to learn our history. Who told you that India was never colonized? That's the lady who asked the question of colonization. No, the Britain took. Okay, so no, India was colonized, but what you don't know is that the books that they wrote, the science books, the history book, even Darwinism, the principle of survival of the fittest, and all those. Beneath it is race. Africa is at the bottom. They actually use the Bible to explain that the Africans, their brother was the devil, and the devil is black. Why do you think that they continue to insist that Jesus is white and God is white, and all the others that didn't do well are dark? So the Indians were colonized, maybe. Yes, they were, but listen, the battle that the Africans have to put up to, the India was not sectioned, not the best of my knowledge. India is one country now with one president. The Africa that we so much cherish, how many presidents do we have? So when they talk about coup d'etats, if you had one president, how many coup d'etats would you have had? So it's the wealth that you have. So I said that racism is for wealth. It's a system that channels wealth to particular race. So if you have wealth, the structure is said that you will be denied access to that wealth, so that wealth will flow to the Europeans and their children. And if it's power, that's why they are always forming one organization or the other. When it changes, they form another one. When it changes, they form another one, because they must have power and they must have wealth. So it's an economic domination tool. They dominate you through that economically. And if you're dominated economically, you've been dominated, because then you don't have a say in anything. You don't have a say in anything. The only reason you become powerful is because you have economic power. If you don't have economic power, you don't have anything. So, and they make sure that they diffuse and destroy all these things by the way they educate your people, your children, the way they educate them. Through the school, through the religion. That's why constantly, look at the things that they constantly tell you in schools. Look at the things that they constantly tell you in churches and mosques. Are you sure that you become powerful economically? Look at the things that they are teaching you. Just ask yourself. The things that they are teaching your child, you go and take the book and see. Are you sure that after your child has read this thing, economically you'll be strong? Just go and look at it again. You yourself, even look at how they taught you. Do you think that you ever become great? You own empires. But what they taught you in school, you just go and look for a job. That's all. And say that nipa be no me nyina kakra bi enso enwen de da che say be say heaven ho bi ase de ameyehwe. That's what they will tell you. You know, so Sylvia is saying that no, Jamfi Joseph, just like Almighty, I will read about the colonization of. Yes, please do. You know, but the way they handle the Indians could be totally different from the way they handle the Africans. Totally different from the way they handle the Africans. So the Africans must learn. And unfortunately, the Africans are the ones fighting and defending. Because the training that they give you, you make sure that you defend them, even though they are destroying you. You know, they are destroying you. And if anybody really wants the freedom of Africa and its people, the freedom where the generation become great and confident and look up to themselves, not look up to somebody else to come and help them, then these are the things that the African youth, the Africans must understand. If you don't understand this, you don't understand anything. If you see any African who does not understand this structure, they don't understand anything. Because on it, almost everything else is built. On it, almost everything else is built. If you're an African American, for instance, and if you don't understand this, you're living in denial. If you don't understand racism as an economic tool, controlling tool, based on race, and you just think that just because you're black or somebody does not like you, that is racism, and you think that racism is, oh, I want to marry a white girl, and they say that I don't care. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about a tool that will continue to make sure that people will be denied access to wealth. And if you're denied access to wealth, do you know what it means? It means that your people are going to die early. They live very frustrated life. They will not live to the best of their talent. They will not dominate anything. They will have poor education, poor health, poor environment. Nobody will respect them. That's what it means. And you can see this in almost everywhere. Go to anywhere that white people live and black people live. Go to South Africa and see. Go to Australia. Go to Canada. Go everywhere and see. And tell me where in this world that where Africans live. Africans have come together, live, and they're economically powerful. And they control the wealth of that country. Not even in our own country in Ghana. Or in Nigeria. Not even. If you look at the most, the biggest organizations and structures in our country, who own those structures and those businesses? That is, so if you're looking for a solution, look for racism. It's an economic domination tool. It's a system. It's a structure. If you don't study it, you'll be the one talking and debating and fighting. I have a friend like that. So why do we have to talk about this? It's not those so far. It's not far. It's life and kicking. It is life and kicking. Look at a lot of our young people now who don't have jobs, who are now carrying guns, moving and killing people. And yet the mining companies who own them in our country, the oil companies, and they say that it's your politicians. Who educated our politicians? They report to which organizations in this world? Do they even have a say? All these various embassies that they have in our country, what are they lobbying? Understand these things. Study them. If you don't, you'll be the one saying all kind of things. Who told you that you have to organize an election every 4 years? So study it. Study. When you go to school, challenge what they teach you. Because by the time that you're through, you will not have any taste for power and wealth. You think that just 1,000 salary is enough once you can take care of your family. But you look around and you see many of your people struggling. It's not about you. It's really about the liberation of our people. Whenever I travel somewhere, I will just be looking at the Africans. I just look at people who look like me. Whether it's England, anywhere that I moved, I travel. And it so bothered me. I will look at the Africans, I look at the jobs that they do, I look at how they walk even through the city, the things that they pay attention to. Many times they sank my heart. Many times they sank my heart. That we were rushing for the cleaning jobs and the factory jobs. So my name is OBENG DARKO. I'm saying that study racism. It's not about hatred to any particular people. It's a system that has created all these imbalances, and it started when the Europeans touched on the continent, where they built philosophies and postulates based on skin color, where they said that the Africans were not full human beings, and they're the ones to be in charge of everything. So any system that you see around the world today is because they created those based on skin, based on race. The banks that you see today, the businesses that you see today, those who own them, look at the wealth, look at the power, the system that is responsible for that. Look at your education. Study that. Study. Because there's more. That's why they are trying to sedate you with religion and quoting Bible all the time. Instead of them to tell you that that which brings changes, that which will bring change in any institution, in any person's life, in any organization is knowledge. They told you that when you pray, change will come. And they intentionally hammered that. So the average African thinks that is prayer which brings changes. But I dare tell you today that that which brings changes is knowledge. It's not prayer. It's not prayer. And yet Africans will defend this with their last breath. And yet when they look around, the change that they so desire, they don't see. Because that which brings change is knowledge. It's just like the knowledge that I'm bringing. This is what is responsible for change, not prayer. That's why we have a lot of our people praying everywhere. And yet you can still see when it comes to wealth and power, it has eluded our people. Because that which brings change is knowledge, is not prayer. Okay, but when you want to dominate people, you tell them that pray to God, God will bring the change. Whilst they are researching and developing new concepts, innovating, building structures constantly, they are not praying. And our people are here defending that, to say that is the prayer. When we pray to God, everything will be fine. And we have prayed to God for all these years because racism was responsible for the miseducation of your people. So now they have entrenched, it's a strong force. You have powerful people saying the same thing. When you pray, everything will change. So the Islamic people are praying constantly. The Christians are praying everywhere. When you're going to play football, we pray and they will score us. When you're going for IMF loan, we will pray. We will still say that we will not go, but we will go. Because that which brings change is knowledge, is not prayer. You can pray to God, build your faith, it's okay. But when you want the truth, it is not prayer that is going to change our continent. It is the knowledge that they hid from us that we need. It's the proper understanding of things that will bring change. Not prayer. Not prayer at all. So you study. If you want change, you go for knowledge. Those that they hid from you, go for them. Because until you have them, the business that you're doing, you won't succeed. It's not prayer that will make your business successful. It's a lie. It's knowledge. Knowledge is power. So that you see the Africans everywhere. It won't bring anything. The business is suffering not because you didn't pray. The business is suffering because you're operating at the same level of knowledge. You're making wrong decisions and choices. Your decision mechanism is wrong. That's why. So you pray for different things. But once you want change, growth, development is not prayer. So you go anywhere, wherever Africans are, instead of knowledge, they told you it's God who will heal you. God who will bring you deliverance. God will bring you that. God, so all our people, they twisted our mind. And that system that is responsible for this, I'm saying, is racism. They miseducated our people and gave the right information to their people. So they are powerful people operate with different knowledge. And our people operate with a whole different knowledge. And that's why we are trying to explain it to ourselves. Go to any community that Africans are. Go to Brazil, go to America, go and look at what the top people, how they think. So that is racism. And it's responsible for this. There's a lot that we have to study. Right now, there's a difference between what I say. Even right now, there is a difference between the members of Commonwealth. Why should he be part of any wealth of Commonwealth? It's just the same. You see, the Commonwealth that you see today, it was the organization that was responsible for the slavery and the colonization. Just a new term. The same organization. Study their history and see for the last 200 years under the British Empire. So if you're part of a Commonwealth, then are you free? So if your people are not free, why are you then accusing them of not developing? Because they are not in charge. The white people, what they teach them, they are powerful people, they don't teach them the same. There's something that they teach them that the ordinary citizen does not know. That's true. They're powerful. Those who are running big organizations and wealth, those who have had wealth for years, they know something that the others don't know. They don't teach them in school like that. The school is just designed to make you get a job, that's all. But to have power and wealth, that's a whole different thing. You must know something different from what they are teaching in school. You must know something different. So we have a lot to learn. And I'm saying that study it. It's one of the most uncomfortable topics. They will say it's controversial. It's not controversial. That's where the healing is. And the thing about the Africans is that the very things that will bring their healing have been tagged as controversial, have been tagged as sacred. We should not go there. And yet, if you don't go there, your people will not be free. So understand this. If you don't understand this thing, there's not much you understand as an African. So you wear your suit and tie, speak your English like I'm speaking. And when they ask you a question, you see, tomorrow morning, listen to radio and see, or Monday morning, politics. That's not the healing is. No, that's not where the solution is. No. That's not where. Tomorrow morning, go to church. That's not where the solution is. The solution is in the knowledge. Bennett said that that which brings change is knowledge, not prayer. If you want to control people, colonize their minds, hijack the information they feed on them, you won't have to tell them to do anything. Exactly what they have done to us. Yes. That's why our only solution is prayer. And they know that prayer does not bring solution. They know it's knowledge. They know it. And so when the people operate at the same level of knowledge, they are not going to improve. They will pray for 1,000 years. Nothing is going to change. Are we not witnessing that? And when you say that, they think that you are attacking them. You are not attacking them. You are looking for solutions. When you say that, they say that you are attacking their faith. No, nobody is attacking you. The Islamic people, you are here. You have prayed all this. Look at your environment. The Christians who are here, you are praying every day, but you are still operating at the same level. That's why the best books they introduce you to, the best books, the Quran and the Bible. There's no current research in it. They just say that read your Bible, but the current vaccine is not in the Bible. You are trying to push us to no, and it's not an attack on that. No, it's not an attack. The Israeli people, they have the best of technologies because they are going for knowledge all the time. And you want us to always go and read the same thing, So if you go to Makaranta, the same reciter. You go to Christian, the same devotion. Where is the new knowledge? How are you going to produce the powerful people when they are always reading the same book? The same book. And prayer. How are you going to produce a strong people when people are doing research and we are being told that God will do it? Because for you to produce a weak people who will not assess their own wealth and power, you tell them that God will do it. You tell them that God will change your destiny for you. And that's constantly what they are telling us. And so we are powerless. But knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. So understand racism is a system that is producing all the things that you see, and it's based on race. All the powerful institutions around the world are headed by white people. Their media houses constantly bombarding the world with all the inferiority in Africa. Those are designs. They are designed to push these things constantly to make your people doubt yourself. Constantly. And if you're young, when I was young, I was frustrated. So I started to dig this. I wanted solutions. I couldn't understand. If I show you my booklet that I wrote in 2000 and 2001 when I was doing my national service, these things I wrote them. So I was on the journey to look for the solutions. So I started to read. It's not because we are unintelligent. It's not because that God has cursed us. No. It's not because that we are inferior people, we are corrupt. No. All these things, they do them. It's because of this structure that has been designed to produce. Once you go through it, and a lot of the institutions that you see globally, they were built on this structure. So almost everything that's going through it is going to produce two people based on their skin color. One is European, they're going to be powerful, they are going to have wealth. One is African, who's going to struggle. And the way they've been educated. So if you're looking for interpretation, look for this. Free yourself, free your mind. Don't buy deception. That's why constantly they have to make sure that Africa is promoted and branded like that. It's a design. And I'm saying that their forebears who designed this and constructed these institutions, they were like that. So the science that they are giving you, the white man is powerful in that science. The business education they are giving you, the white man is powerful. The politics that you are studying at Legon, the white man is powerful. Your people are inferior. Even everything that they are teaching you. And when you come out, the structures are also designed like that. So that's why when you go out, they'll promote the white man and tell you to sit down. The flow of funds globally goes to who? Who are the ones controlling this? And the same people are trying to tell you equity and fairness. That's a lie. That equity and fairness only applies to their people, not you. That's why you don't know. Equity and fairness in their law only applies to them. That's why you have to fight double all the time. It does not mean that it's not possible, but if you're ignorant, then you can't change anything. In the next 50 years, Africa will be the number one dominant race in the world. But we cannot be dominant and be ignorant. And that's why we need to change the fundamentals. We need to bring understanding to our people so that we can equip them. So whether you live in Ghana or you live in America or you live anywhere, once you are equipped with knowledge, that's 90% of the solution. A lot of things will start to make meaning to you. You will not be tricked. You will not accord power to people who are not that powerful. But they have branded and they have told us that they are super powerful. Even what you are thinking about it, they know. They told you that and you believe it. So that when you go to school, you question everything that they are teaching you.